Back we're twins that review and commentate about movies. In this video, we discuss the 2021 movie Seven Deadly Sins: Lust, starring Carrie Hilson, Tank, and Latoya Luckett. This movie is actually one of the many movies in the Seven Deadly Sins series. This movie was also a book, then turned into a movie by Bishop T.D. Jakes. In the future, we'll do a review on the other films in the series. However, this video will focus on the movie Lust. To our main character, Tiffany, or Tiff, which I would say one or the other throughout, and she is kissing another man in a bed that's not her husband. We know this because she narrates how tomorrow's her wedding day and she's about to make the biggest mistake of her life. She also states how the man in bed is not her future husband, but her weakness. How she knows it's a mistake, but her desire for this man consumes her. It overrides her reason, moral, everything is all out lust. You know they had to throw in the title of the movie right away. After the intimate scene, we are introduced to the beginning, where we're taken back to what led up to her first meeting the man in her bed. The movie first shows us how rocky her relationship is like with her fiance. Her fiance name is Damon King. He is a business owner of the King's Enterprise, and we learned this at a party they attended together. A reporter comes up to him asking him what is his next business venture, which he states he will be opening a spa business named Urban Utopia. As he talks, he steps in front of Tiffany like she wasn't just standing there next to him, which I thought was rude. However, based on Tiffany's face, she must be used to this because she just walks away looking over it. Later that night, Tiffany and Damien are in their big, beautiful home, and she tries to be intimate with him in the bathroom. But he says it's unsanitary. She gets slightly annoyed, and they stop, and she narrates how passionless her sex life has been with her fiance. We learned that the next day that the spy that her fiance was talking with the reporter about was actually her spy. While laying in bed, she calls someone at the company who tells her that the spy business account is in her fiance name, which she wasn't aware of. She tells them to trans back to her name. She makes her way downstairs when she meets with Damon, assistant who is played by Latoya Luckett. Can't remember her name, but you will see there's Luckett. They talk about how Damon and her disagree on the location of the wedding. So she wanted the wedding at her grandpa's church instead of having it in their big house. He wanted it, of course, in the house. Later that day, Damon and Tiffany meets with Tiffany's grandpa, who is the pastor, and he gives them marriage advice. We also find out that this convo they had only been together for a year. Grandpa tells them that how they need to be completely honest with each other to have a successful marriage. I thought it was good advice, but of course Damon says they are, and Tiffany nods, looking uncertain. That night, Tiffany tries to get intimate with Damon again. She wears like an unbuttoned shirt with nothing but lingerie underneath, trying to role play with him. But he tells her to leave that in the past, like her sexual advances was beneath him, or them, I guess. So he asks her to pick up his best friend the next day. This was the second time in the movie that shows how passionless her sex life is with Damon. We see from her perspective, she wants to be more spontaneous, but he wants her to be more modest, basically them not be on the same page in the relationship. Next morning, she is in the office with her friend. They talk about how boring her sex life is, which she compares to the vanilla yogurt she was eating at the time. They also talks about how Tiffany was a virgin before she met Damon, and her friend tells her how she should stay a virgin until she got married. And I'm like, girl, she tells you she is have a miserable sex life, and her friend's suggestion is that she should stop having sex. Like, girl, it's too late for that. Just bad advice all around. Friendly, she gets a package at the door left by her fiance. The box includes a handwritten letter and a photo album. While looking at her gift, the doorbell rings and she dropped a glass cup that was in her hand and cuts herself in the process as she opens the door. We are introduced to the same man we saw in the beginning of the movie, Trey. Also, want to stay at this point in the movie, we see how lust plays a part in Tiffany's life. Trey tells Tiffany who he is and how he got a ride there to their home instead of her coming to pick him up. He comments on the vanilla yogurt being a boring flavor that she was eating. I was thinking weird, but okay. She asks him if he's going to cause trouble there. She notes to herself that how he never answered that question, but she allows him inside anyways. He flirts with her right away, stating how when he was locked up, he craved things, how it's been built up, so he has to watch himself. Trey patches up Tiffany cut, and finally Damon comes home and he's happy Trey was there, not knowing a few seconds ago, his sneaky self was just flirting with his fiance. Later that day, Trey, Damon, and Tiff sits down to eat, and Trey tries to bring up his and Damon's past to Tiffany, but Damon shuts him down real quick. I'm like, what you hiding, Damon? Just sus. Trey asks Damon how they met, and we learn that Tiffany used to work for Damon. He also asks her if her parents was going to be at the wedding, and she tells him how her parents died in a car accident. She was raised by her grandparents. Damon gets up from the table to get something to drink for Trey. While he's gone, Trey tells Tiffany his parents also passed away, and when Damon comes back to set the drink on the table, Trey and Tiffany both touch the glass, highlighting the attraction they both have for each other just by one touch. I'm like, I guess the sexual tension is high now. Tiffany leaves after this interaction, and Trey and Damon talks about how Trey owes Damon, which we're not sure why at this point. Tiffany goes to talk with her grandmother about how her sex life is lacking and wonder if her grandmother ever wanted someone else other than her grandpa. Her grandmother asks her if there's someone else she likes, and she denies there is someone. She gives Tiffany advice on how she is being tested and not to succumb to the devil. Tiffany narrates to herself that she should stay away from Trey. Later that day, Tiffany goes to Urban Utopia for a meeting. Damien, Trey, and another guy were already there, and she feels like Damien should have told her he was going to be there. Of course, she doesn't say that to him, just to herself. They discuss how bad the wiring is at her spa, which caused the lights in the place to not work. So Trey offered his services. We never learn how Trey knows how to wire a building. Maybe he was working as an electrician before he got locked up. Damien talks to Tiffany privately how he doesn't know where Trey head is at, so he doesn't want Trey to do the rewiring. In the background, we see Trey was actually listening to the convo the whole time. Passes and Trey meets with Tiffany in a room where she is sampling different oils. Trey flirts with her by smelling the oil she has on her neck, both again showing how much they want each other. He asks her to do the rewiring for her spa. She says okay, but just to keep between them two. Later that night, she meets with Trey at his hotel. He opens the door with only a towel on, which you could tell he did that on purpose. Like, really? He couldn't put clothes on? I can't. They discuss the problems in the spa, and Tiffany leaves because she was getting turned on by him, especially since she was starting rubbing his stomach area. She goes to her surprise bridal shower thrown by her friend. She asks her friend if they ever had an affair before, and one of her friends tell her it is not worth it. Basically giving her advice that if she's thinking about it, don't do it. At the same time this is happening, Damon and Trey meet up, and we learn that Trey has a child that he wants to see, but feels he should get his life together before he sees him again, which he should be focusing on instead of trying to hook up with his best friend's girl. Damon's lawyer named Eric is also hanging with them, what looks like a bar in like a basement area. The lawyer tells Trey he will be hired at their company and how he would get paid more than an entry level employee. Trey says he is worth it, trying to insinuate Damon owes him for some reason, which they haven't said yet. Trey makes a joke about how he used to Damon being around public defenders. Shady, but okay. Damon shuts him down quickly because he doesn't want to talk about his past. Again, just sus. That same night, Tiffany and Damon have a fight. Tiffany wants to stop having sex until their wedding day. He tells her it's silly, and she goes to sleep in her living room, and she has a sex dream about Trey. The next morning, she eventually makes up with Damon and goes to work, but on her way, she snaps at her friend who just asks her for money to pay the people that work for her. She narrates to herself that she feels like she is messing up her life over the lust and desire she has for Trey. Later that day, we see Trey and Tiffany both working at the spa. He offers her a sandwich. Then the topic switched to him saying how he never had a head massage. I'm like, he is so trying to be all flirty with her. Like, why'd you offer it for a head massage? So she actually does give him the massage, which leads to them kissing, giving in to her lust. At the same time, her fiance calls her because she was supposed to meet up with him. After making out with Trey, she goes to have a dress fitting with her grandmother and realized she was supposed to meet up with Damon. Her grandmother tells Tiffany she would tell Damon she was working late. Trey and Damon talk while getting fitted for suits, and he blabs to Damon how Tiffany was at the spa with him while he was working, saying, "Wait, she didn't tell you?" Like he knew Damon didn't know. He just wanted to be messy and always seemed like he has an ulterior motive. Damon confronts Tiffany about her lies and suggests they postpone their wedding because he only married her because it was good for his image and he murdered her into an ideal woman. But he tells her that they have their whole life to work out their problems and they should get married. In the middle of the night, she gets a call from Trey and she meets up with him at her spa. He shows her how he fixed the wiring. She tells him to leave and that he is fired. He decides to walk her to her car, stating maybe she should just stop hiding and become the woman she wants to be. And she screams at him to go. And then she grabs and kisses him, all dramatic in the rain, crying. She eventually runs off while he screams her name. The next day at church, Trey shows up to tell her he was going to be at the bar at midnight when everyone leaves the party the friends are throwing for the couple. So basically, he's saying he wants her to meet him after the after the little party. Her friends ask her at the party if she slept with Trey because she sees how they are with each other. Tiffany tells her friend no and how she needs to be alone that night. Instead, she goes to meet Trey at the bar. So sneaky. Make their way to Trey's hotel room, making out, and the camera pans to Tiff's phone, showing Damon is calling her at the same time. I'm like, uh-oh. As they take off their clothes, Trey stops and asks her what Damon would say if he sees her like this. At this point, his whole mood changes. He states how Damon screwed him over 7 years ago, and he was plotting his revenge to get Damon back. She cries, feeling used, and he leaves the room. I knew he was sneaky all along. Next day is the wedding. Tiffany tells her grandmother everything, including the revenge plot made by Trey. As Damon and Trey get ready at the wedding, he brags to Damon how he hooked up with a woman the night before, being messy as usual. Tiffany finally walks down the aisle to her husband and stops before she reaches him. Instead, she runs off and Damon finds her and she tells him the truth about cheating, not saying how she treated with Trey, of course. He gets pissed and yells at her about how he gave her everything and tells her to pack her things and leave. Damon meets with Trey, and Trey tracks himself, asks him if he know who it was, and tells him it's probably someone he did dirty, basically trying to give hints that it was himself to Damon. Damon tells Trey he hired a PI to look into it. Tiffany goes to church and meets with a friend who finally gives her good advice, encouraging her not to give Trey her power and to focus on her work. Later that day, she confronts Trey at the hotel about how he was right about her hiding herself. She also does a prayer for him to heal his heart from all the anger he's storing. He tears up a little. She leaves and calls Damon, asking for forgiveness. However, later that night, we see Trey getting snatched up, taken to a car, and then thrown out, and is confronted by Damon, who has a gun to his head, saying how he slept with Tiffany. Trey tells him he didn't, but he could have, and how he banned him back in the day. Now we get the real reason why he plotted his revenge. Trey and Damon were supposed to commit a crime, and Trey got caught because Damon didn't show up to help. He just left Trey on his own without telling him he wasn't going to show up. Damon tells him he had 2 strikes and he wasn't planning to do life in prison for him. He also said he sent Trey a voicemail telling him to pack it in after he found out the place was hot. He tells Damon that hooking up with Tiffany was like taking candy from a baby because he does not take care of his girl. I mean, he wasn't wrong, but they physically fight. Damon beats up Trey and tells him he's going to kill him because he said he's not going to kill him because he has a kid and would not want his kid to grow up without a father. He told him to leave town and threatened to end him if he ever came back. Damon goes to meet with Tiffany after, asking why she cheated with Trey. She tells him that Trey was a deflection, how he didn't see her for who she was, but she wanted him. He said his heart may never recover and how he is lost without her. Tiffany asks him to start over, and he agrees. And we see at the end of the movie Tiffany and Damon making up. She opens her spa business and then eventually get married. She also narrates that Damon repaired their sex life, saying how her relationship with Damon was more than about lust. The ending scene shows Tiffany pregnant with her and Damon moving out and leaving the gift for the new owners of the house as they go to start their new life somewhere else. Let's start the movie. A little bit of final thoughts. I think the movie did a good job of showing the problems that lust and cheating could lead to in a committed relationship. It was a short movie with a lot of messiness and kind of like sensual music and interactions between Trey and Tiffany. I'm guessing just to set the mood. A few things that weren't shown that I wanted to see is what happened to Trey and showing how Damon changed. But I guess it would have made the movie longer, but they could have just narrated it at the end for us. Overall, it was a decent movie. I would kind of give it like a 6.5, maybe a 7 out of 10. The acting was good. The story was well told. And I want to thank you so much for listening. Subscribe, like the video, and thanks to those who have subscribed. Check out our other videos on our channel. Bye.